Hello everyone and welcome to Failing Better, the self-improvement comedy podcast with me, Jonny Pelham, and
me, Sean McLaughlin,
and together we are
Failing Better.
That was good.
It was bloody good, wasn't it, Johnny? It really was bloody good.
I think that might have been the most smooth one we've done yet.
I think it's easy to forget quite how good they were at the beginning.
That's true.
I think we went through a fallow period, and then this is one element of the podcast I was actually meaning to talk to you about. Probably should have saved it for off air, but why not do it here? I think the way we do that every week is nice.
It feels like there's a book coming.
But I think the fact that we always then basically review how that one has gone. Yeah. Do you think that's isolating ourselves from new listeners? Like, if a new listener listening to this go, what's going on here, do you think?
I don't think so. I think it shows a thirst for improvement that people wanting to sign up to a self-improvement podcast would be into. We're determined to nail the failing better, and that is the ethos of this show. Constant improvement, constantly searching for more. We're like the British Olympic team in 2012 cycling. We just have to be the best.
Yeah, I definitely get the constantly searching for more bit.
Yeah.
How are you, Johnny?
I've stopped drinking since Monday. Today it is Friday.
Congratulations, Johnny.
And I feel healthier. My brain is working better. I'm less funny.
Yeah, amen, brother. What's caused this?
There was a moment where I was like, I need to stop drinking. I just, I sort of wanted to stop drinking after my birthday. Yeah, birthdays are quite good moments, aren't they? Where I sort of realised that I wasn't really achieving anything in my life and felt quite low about that. And then I was like, right, I'm going to sort myself out. But then Sophie got, it's my birthday, so then Sophie got a doctorate from Bolton University, which is a mental story involving the Count of San Marino and the Duke of Sandringham. But Sophie's sworn me to secrecy about it, so I can't talk about it. What a bitch. But maybe
you're being a real being a real prick tease there. Maybe we do that on a Patreon episode.
Maybe,
once.
yeah.
Is that allowed? We get Sophie back on the show and she can tell it.
That's a good idea.
What could have possibly happened? What could have possibly happened?
Basically, we went for
I knew it'd be easy to tease this story.
That was way too easy. One tiny question. I can't talk. Sophie specifically said driving back said, do not talk about this on the podcast. So I'm sorry everyone. But yeah, all right. Basically, yeah, if you want to hear about the Count of San Marino, sign up to our Patreon.
Tell us now.
Maybe we just get Sophie.
Just tell us now.
I can't. I would have told you had you not reminded me how quickly I'd broken. Imagine me as a spy, like, tell us where the weapons is. I'll never tell you. Oh, go on, tell us. All right, well.
Tell us where the weapons is. How do you think you'd be as a spy, by the way? Long story, like, genuinely.
I think
if you are a spy, you're the most incredible covert operative I've ever met in my life.
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not I am a spy.
I know that you're not a spy, Johnny. I know you're not a spy.
Of course you think you know that.
Johnny, you're not a spy.
I'm Russian.
Okay, so you're saying you're a Russian spy?
Yeah, I'm Count Vladov. I'm Count Vladov.
You're Count Vladov.
Yeah.
So what? You're a member of like the old Russian royal family, like the Romanov dynasty.
Half vampire, half modern
you're
spy.
You're a fucking idiot. You're such. And what's your mission then, Count Vladov?
I can't tell you my mission. That's literally the first thing they tell you at spy school. Never reveal your mission on a podcast. That's the first lesson.
What's the second lesson, out of curiosity?
The second lesson, because I'm a vampire, is never stand in front of a mirror in front of other people. They will discover you're a vampire dead quick.
And just want to say, the panic in your eyes is giving me a lot of joy, so I'm going to squeeze more juice out of this lemon. Did you have to go to a specific spy academy due to the fact that you're half vampire?
No, because it was... I initially refused to... I try to keep it secret. For years I tried to keep it secret. The problem was, Sean, I was trying to keep it secret to the KGB. They rumbled me day one. So then I was lying to them, and then eventually I said, look, we're going to release it to all your friends that you're a vampire, unless you are willing to help us do some really dodgy deals. And so I just had to do it.
Okay. And so is that where our Patreon money's going, is it?
Yeah, our Patreon's going to...
I don't understand. Can we just go back into this story a little bit, please, Johnny?
I'm pretty sure I don't understand either. But ask away. Count Vladov is here to take your questions.
So, right. So you've been arrested and you're being tortured by the KGB.
No. I signed up willingly to the spy school.
Yeah, but you said as a result of the KGB capturing you and saying they were going to expose you as a vampire.
No, that because I was part of the school, and then I was pretending to just be a spy. Yeah,
but the school's second lesson was if you're a vampire, don't go out in the light. Was that it?
Yeah.
And that's just total coincidence. That's the second lesson of the spy school, and you're sitting there going, "I'm a vampire. I'm not going to tell anyone, but that's good to know."
Total quinky dink, 100% quinky dink. That.
And how many Russian spies use the phrase "quinky dink"?
I cannot reveal that information. I cannot. That's the first lesson.
And so, what was it that
let them know about how many of us use the word quinky dink?
I fucking swear to God, man, you don't want this podcast to succeed.
You can you're the one who knew this was shit and then started spending 5 minutes talking about it.
Johnny!
Count Vladov!
Oi, Count Vladov! Shut the fuck up, Count Vladov! Okay, I'll put garlic on you.
No!
Now let me ask you this now.
Yeah.
What was it that gave you away as a vampire to the KGB?
Well, something I should have said, in the second lesson where they taught us never to stand in front of a mirror, the room was made out of mirrors. So it was a real... I think if anything, they might have been talking directly... I don't know if it was a general lesson or if they were talking to me.
It sounds like they had a plan in mind.
They did say, Count Vladov, if you're a vampire, don't stand in front of mirrors. And I just took that way, that's a broad lesson, That's a broad lesson.
Okay. Well, we certainly have a lot to deal with on this episode of the podcast. Obviously, I'm a mouse who gambles, and Johnny's a half vampire Russian spy. This is the self-help podcast. If you're first time listening, all we ever talk about is self-help. And we just really appreciate all the 5-star reviews. If anything, actually, some of our listeners have been a bit slack on the 5-star reviews. I think we need a few more of you need to fucking pull your finger out because we're giving you quality content.
Yeah, and quite frankly, if you don't give us 5 stars, I'm going to come out to your house and kill you.
Okay.
How's it going?
Do you mean like you're going to suck their blood?
No, I only do that for pleasure, baby. When I'm working for the KGB, I'm not allowed to be a vampire. I've just got to do.
I'm not allowed to be a vampire.
I've got to do like poisoning and that sort of stuff.
Oh, cool. Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But at night time, I assume.
At night time, I'm an absolute fiend.
Yeah. And what do you do in the day?
What I do in the day is I just listen to podcasts.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, I've actually been thinking that's actually a very good idea, isn't it? For a wouldn't that be a great opening to like a film or a TV show? Is the KGB or like say MI5 or something like that have captured a person and they're interrogating them, and it turns out the person's a vampire? Wouldn't that be great?
Would it? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know we've bought into this for 10 minutes.
It's good enough. Look, Johnny, if it's good enough for us, it's good enough for Netflix.
Great. Well, I think, and I don't say this lightly, this has been the worst start.
Guys,
we can't. The thing I've learned about doing this podcast is sometimes I think, this was a really good app, and I listen back to it and it's fine. And sometimes I think this is really shit, and I listen back to it and it's fine. So I feel like maybe we just accept Count Vladov into our lives and crack on with the main meat. What do you think, Sean?
It has been an absolute pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure, Count, to have you on this podcast. And I look forward to finding out more secrets about your long and I imagine storied tale as we go through our main book. What's our main book this week, Johnny?
It is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I don't think we've been that subtle about not giving a fuck so far.
Count Vladov.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone, genuinely. And thank you to the Patreons. We have a few new Patreons this week.
We do. It's really fun on there. People keep putting comments and stuff.
Yeah, we're really it's really nice. It's genuinely really nice for me. It must be, I don't know if vampires feel the same sort of sense of joy as humans, but I'm enjoying it.
We love Patreons and we love the idea of a Patreon, and we're very happy. I was going to say me and Count Vladoff, but I guess I am Count Vladoff.
Yeah, it's hard to tell where you end and Count Vladoff begins. Such as your commitment to this bizarre role that you've willingly walked into for this episode.
How did we get here? Do you have any idea how Count Vladoff came into existence? I can't think of any way that it began. It must have been me.
It was 10 minutes ago, so we can just find out. It's all on record.
Yeah, no, I can't remember how. How did a Russian KGB vampire come into being?
I don't know.
The imagination truly is infinite.
It is. I would say ours is unfortunately quite finite, though, wouldn't you? I'd say I wouldn't say that an infinite imagination is our biggest problem.
No.
Anyway, do sign up to the Patreon. Patreon.com/failingbetter. Extra content every week. Thank you so much for the people who've done it. And soon you'll be able to watch us eat a bloody roast dinner. Though I've just realised that might be a reference to a part of this recording that will definitely be cut out. So see you after the break.
Goodbye. So, Sean, the book we are reading today is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, a counterintuitive approach to living a good life. My first question for you is, how do you feel about books that swear at you? Or swear in, you know what I mean? Like, I find them quite irritating.
What, swearing in the title? It feels like that's very in vogue.
It feels very gimmicky to me. Like, you need to sort your shit out. It's like, all right, book, stop swearing at me. I
feel like that's a sort of, it feels like it's a very sort of memeable sort of post-internet thing. Like a guide to sewing used to just be like, it used to be like the Ladybird Guide to Sewing and Sewing Machines. And now it's called How to Fucking Sew and Make Your Own Fucking Clothes.
Yeah,
and
sew you fucking unt. And it's like, why are you yelling at me, book? I'm trying to buy you. I'm spending £10 on you. Stop calling me a dick. I hate it. I hate books that swear. I'm not like a prude. Like I'm a big fan of swearing in general. I just don't. I think humans should swear, and books should be your loyal servants.
I agree with that. Can I just say, Johnny? I know this isn't good for the audio, but I think you've moved your camera because I can only really see the top of your head.
I'm being off for fuck's sake.
Yeah. See, if we were turning that into a book, we'd be like, how to fucking put your camera the right fucking way on a podcast.
You fucking nonce. So you come out, you nonce.
That's what we go. Yeah, the failing better guide to doing a podcast. It wouldn't be called How to Be a Podcaster. It'd be called You Dirty Pedo. How to Be a Pedo. on a
How to Be a Pedo.
Have you read that new book about podcasting? It's called How to Be a Pedo.
Oh, it would be morally abhorrent, but it'd be quite funny if there was a guide to how to be a paedophile. Paedophilia for dummies.
God, have we got him already? No, it wouldn't be that. That'd be the only thing where they wouldn't have like a sweary, ironic title.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, 12
They go,
steps.
we have to play this very straight.
12 steps to being a successful paedophile. I always thought, this is a joke that never worked. I understand why it never worked. But there was a parliamentary group in like the 80s who wanted to abolish the age of consent. And I always thought it was quite funny how confident they were that they could democratically bring people. Like, the idea of the joke was, I wish I had that level of self-confidence to think that I could convince the world that, we should be paedophiles. Clear why it didn't work to me now that I'm telling it to you on this podcast.
No, let's workshop it.
Because the bit was, I'm not very confident. I'd love more confidence. And then I was trying to think of like examples of people who are just insanely confident. And I think trying to bring about legalising paedophilia through democratic means feels like you've got to really believe in yourself as a public speaker.
Yeah. I mean, that is really taking the long route, isn't it? Like in my head. No, but seriously, in my head, it would be easier to just form an army and take over the government and install a fascist dictatorship. And then the first thing you do is, there's no age of consent.
Yeah, I agree. Rather than being like, look, I can win the round.
Slowly change the public mind over decades.
Yeah. Anyway, that joke never worked, and you can see why. I really believed in that joke. Like, I'm saying it now, because I no longer believe in the joke, because it's so riddled with failure. But I remember thinking, that's such a funny idea, and then trying it at, like, 7 or 8 open mic gigs, and each one of them just being a fucking disaster.
Oh, speaking of which, didn't you do your first gig in, like, 7 years last week?
No, I'm doing it on Tuesday.
Oh, all right, cool.
I don't know what I'm gonna. I don't really have any jokes other than I got into a drug dealer's car.
Got into a drug dealer's car, and the age of consent is okay. I mean, that's it. I think that's.
I tell you what,
that's an hour. That
after wandering away from that my neighbour's car trying to do a drug deal, I thought, isn't it good? The age of consent is 16. Good night, everyone.
I don't think that would be jarring to an audience in the slightest.
It is weird how some countries have very low. Like, is it Japan or something? Why are we going down this rabbit?
Honestly, mate, what is up with you today?
Oh, Count Vlad.
I think you need to get back on the source.
I know what you mean. I was thinking. I think I'm just a fucking moron. I was thinking. You're
not. The thing is, you're not a moron, but you do act like one.
Yeah, I'm profoundly stupid. If you're profoundly stupid, then join our Patreon, where there's a support group for people who are profoundly stupid.
Yeah, if you're thick, you might be thick enough to sign up to our Patreon. No, but seriously, though, thank you very much. Right, let's talk about this book then. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Not giving a fuck, mate.
I don't like that. Can't you just call it like how to do a thing? How to be better.
I couldn't agree more. That's why I've seen this. It's been very popular, this book, and as a peruser of the self-help aisle of Waterstones, I've seen it a lot, and I've never actually bought it because I find it too annoying. But it is quite an interesting book, so let's crack on. The number one step is find something meaningful to care about. Because he says,
what's the ethos of the book? I suppose that's the main thing we should. Is it just about letting go of anxieties and stuff?
What is the main ethos of the book? I guess that is a question I haven't really prepared for. So let me just work it out quickly.
I'm very sorry to have asked that in that case.
I think the ethos of the book is basically that in a world where you've got infinite choice and like information and you can do loads of things, you've got to find very specifically what you care about and do that. And it's sort of got quite a lot of stoicism in it, in that it talks about how life is difficult and challenging, but that's why you should focus on something you like, because you're going to spend most of your time solving problems as opposed to living on a yacht with a supermodel. Does that make sense? So I guess the idea is like, so one of his key things is, rather than asking ourselves what we want, we should therefore ask ourselves what we're willing to struggle for. And happiness comes from solving problems rather than the final destination. So rather than be like, I want to be...
Now, is that a reference to the film Final Destination? Is he saying solving problems is more rewarding than watching Final Destination?
Well, he's quite clear about this. He says that solving problems is more... is more, you're happier doing that than you are watching Final Destinations 2 through to 6. But Final Destination 1 is more fun than solving problems.
Oh, really? Genuinely?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I admire his honesty.
A lot of the book is quite a long, detailed sort of review of how much he loves Final Destination 1, though.
What happens in Final Destination 1? Is that the one with is that the plane?
Honest answer, Sean. Absolutely no idea.
Why did I think you would?
I think it might be the one with the plane, because it's the one where at the end they're all sat at the airport. I'm back to where they're ending, and then I can't remember.
Is that the one? Yeah, I've never seen it, but I think it is famous though, because Final Destination, they're all in a airport at the end, and then a plane crashes into them,
something like that.
Yeah, a plane crashes into them.
Yeah. Then Vlad the vampire runs off.
Part of the failing better. It's part of the failing better cinematic universe.
Yeah, with a banner that says, "Please subscribe to Failing Better."
I mean, they do have product placement in these big Hollywood films. How much do you reckon we'd have to pay to get just a vampire in the background of a big film with a banner saying "Subscribe to Failing Better."
Well, do the audience know he's a half vampire? Do the audience know he's a half vampire?
Well, I guess
how do we give them that information?
Oh, that's true.
Unless he's an actual character in it.
Well, I suppose he's also he's a Russian half vampire who's a KGB spy, and he's got a podcast. There's a lot to give away because
there's a lot of exposition, isn't there?
Well, I would say, I mean, look, I think if we really paid top dollar, we could get someone like Scarlett Johansson to just look at him and go, wow, look, that half vampire is a Russian spy and seems to be advertising a podcast. But that would be, I think, beyond our budget.
Do you think? Well, I guess how many Patreons we get. I mean, if we can start getting a bit more Patreon money, we can certainly send a letter to Scarlett Johansson's representative.
I don't know. No, I think we'd have to go direct to the studio for this.
Do you know, I reckon she might wing it and we get it in the edit. I think Scarlett Johansson can be like, look, I want to do a few. I don't think we've quite nailed this scene. I want to spitball it, see what I'm coming at. That she might, in the middle of a movie, say, God, look at that half vampire KGB personal podcast. And the director went, that's staying in. That was the meat of this. Pride and Prejudice has never been quite as impressive as when Scarlett Johansson introduced the half Russian vampire.
I would say the problem with that, we have to work backwards though. It isn't just that she says that, because actors are allowed to ad lib, and sometimes the ad libs get in the film, and that is a great ad lib for any film. For any film. We're all in agreement. I think the issue would be more. You're saying it's Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
I'd say the cost. So. I'd say the director would have to also be on the payroll, because they probably at some point noticed that in the background there's a character dressed. Like, we'd have to go through a lot more hoops like that. Whereas if we went direct to the studio basically says to films, look, you've got to have a can of Coke in this scene because Coke are paying us however much. So basically they'd say you have to have a Russian half vampire KGB person who's undercover. So it's actually a very subtle challenge. Yeah, but the key thing is he's got a banner saying subscribe to the Failing Better podcast.
And what almost every bit of Pride and Prejudice would have to happen at night. So like when Mr. Darcy gets out of the pond, it'll just have to be pitch black.
Maybe it have to be pitch black, which is going to make it even more challenging to see Vlad and the banner. So we'd have to build in a plot element like the moon is very bright tonight.
Yeah. I think it's doable though. If we get enough Patreons, I think it's very doable. It's an achievable goal.
Look, if you want to be part of history, then you've just got to go to patreon.com/failingbetter. Starts from just £3 a month. And that's now one of the tiers, I think. We need to. That's one of the benefits, because normally it's like you get extra content, or you get like discounts on tickets, or you get extra stuff. But now, as soon as you dedicate, you are part of the movement to get Vlad the KGB vampire to advertise the podcast in an upcoming adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. I mean, the more I talk about it, the more I think we have to try. That has to be the end goal of this pod.
All right. The sad thing is, if we achieve that, the podcast instantly gets taken down everywhere, and we have to say never.
As soon as we achieve that, because every episode is deleted for good. Me and Johnny both just kill ourselves.
Yeah, we die. We blow up instantly. Because imagine what that would create such an internet sensation as everyone try to work out what Failing Better was, because there's no trace of it. Oh my god. This is the best idea I've ever had in my life. And
then we'd end up being a conspiracy theory. Like they'd have all the those meetings about like flat earthers and whether birds are real and stuff like that. There'd be one about the Failing Better conspiracy.
Yeah, and people would be like, was Johnny Pelham and Sean McLaughlin actually KGB spies? Were they half vampires? People are like, Johnny Pelham and Sean McLaughlin, where are you even getting those names from? Yeah. God, this could be... Would there be a Netflix doc on us?
Oh, for sure.
I'm excited. So what we need... How much do you think we need?
I think it's the best thing that could ever happen to our career, really.
Hugely. I would say we probably need £50 million. How much do you think we need?
All right, here's how much I think we need. I think we need enough to bankroll an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice on our own and somehow get Scarlett Johansson involved.
I think that's the only way this is doable.
I mean, I think as soon as any other investor, any other person comes in, that's the first thing they're going to look at and go, well, that's a red line for me. Is I have to have that scene out.
The KGB vampire. It's going to be difficult to convince them of the artistic merit of that. But this is a true grassroots movement. We're not beholden to oil barons or the people ruining the media.
Yeah, those fat cat executives smoking their cigars, saying, make another Morbius, make another Spider-Man. We're trying to give something real to the. We're trying to get cinema back.
Absolutely.
Because also the film, you won't be able to see it on streaming websites or on YouTube or anything like that. It's going to play in cinemas across the world for one day, and then every copy is deleted.
And it's, at one time on one day at noon on the day of its release, it'll air everywhere. Fucking everywhere.
So Scarlett Johansson's in it, and who plays? Is it Mr. Darcy? Isn't it in Pride and Prejudice? Who plays Mr. Darcy?
Right. We can disagree on this. Just a consideration. Me, I'm Mr. Darcy.
Okay, you've got my attention, Johnny. You've got my attention.
Because I think if I had to play the role, I'd get a hot bod. I'd really work out to make my bod very hot.
Okay. But then but you're also playing Vlad.
That's a good point. I think...
So it's going to be very surreal when your hot bod climbs out of the midnight lake.
You're right. The problem
and then you look over and there's you.
Surreal.
And you're there advertising a podcast. And Scarlett Johansson turns and goes, it looks like that KGB person's advertising a podcast. And then it pans back to the same actor going, oh, yeah.
No, I think there's no... When I'm playing Mr. Darcy, I just don't reference Vlad. And then there's a question mark. Is this a mental illness, Pride and Prejudice? And Vlad resides solely in Scarlett Johansson's mind as a sort of warning about the KGB and the interference of Russia in American democracy.
Well, there we go. And that's how we make it relevant to modern audiences.
Yes,
it's like the Elvis film. Have you seen the Elvis film?
No.
They put in loads of sort of modern music and modern twists to make modern audiences sort of get a sense of how it is.
That's what a modern twist is. It's like a twist. Suddenly Elvis is on TikTok. Elvis is blown up on TikTok.
Yeah, Elvis is doing the keto diet. No, they play like hip hop and stuff in it.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Basically, that's our version of it. In Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy looks over and sees a character from the KGB advertising a podcast. Now, I suppose the next question would be, how closely aligned to the KGB do we want Failing Better to be moving forward?
That's a good question.
Because I wouldn't say that relationships between Russia and the rest of the world are that hot at the moment.
I hear what you're saying, Sean. It's a good point. It's a valid point. It's a point I've not particularly considered in enough detail, Pose. What I'd say is, we need a bridge between the Western world and the Russian world. And I believe there's no better bridge than the bridge of podcasting.
You read my mind, Johnny.
Yeah.
So I think from now on, this podcast's sole aim is to oust Putin.
Yeah, Putin's got to go. He's a monster.
Great. So anyway, back to the self-help book. What's the first tip?
The first tip is never do a Pride and Prejudice remake involving a vampire. But what I'd say to that guy is he can go fuck himself.
This fucking book, man. I'm sick of this book. Honestly, I'm sick of this book. I don't believe in it.
Well, the problem too is there's no such thing as a personal problem. Tell that to someone trying to get a vampire into Pride and Prejudice, mate.
All I've got is personal problems. My wife's left me over this.
He literally says, the chances are that millions of other people have the exact same problem as you. Do they? Do they, Mark? You fucking idiot.
Do
No
they?
one's got problems.
Where is Mark? What's his name? I'm going to tweet him right now from the Failing Better thing.
Mark Manson.
Mark Manson. I'm going, follow us on Failing Pod at Twitter, and you will see us tweeting Mark Manson going, hey, Mark, you said there's no such thing as a personal problem. Here's one of mine. If you can find literally one other person with this problem, I'll buy every copy of your book.
Are you doing it now? Or are you going to do it afterwards?
I probably shouldn't do it on air.
All right, let's do it afterwards. I'll retweet it. I don't know if I want to retweet it. It feels too niche. A lot of times, I think one of the things I think a lot about this pod is how much do I stand behind this pod? And the answer is often quite adjacently.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a personal problem. New technologies give us a sense.
By the way, this is your first. If this is your first time listening to the pod, I don't even know what you. This is my 22nd time hosting the pod, and even I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
This is the weirdest episode yet.
Yeah.
But also, maybe I do sometimes wonder if I feel like we often get messages from people who visit the pod, and I think they like it when it's weird. So maybe tell us if this one was too weird. Has the half-Russian KGB vampire put you off feeling better? Has it indeed made you want it more?
Well, I don't know how much more of it we can give, but anyway, carry on. Let's do a few more minutes on a bit of self-help.
New technologies give us a sense of entitlement. This leads us to believe that exceptionalism is the new normal, which makes us feel inadequate and leads us to compensate through entitlement. So basically what it's saying is the rare few who become exceptional do so not because they believe they're exceptional, but because they're obsessed with improvement. By accepting we can't all be exceptional, we can focus on the simple things that truly matter. What do you think about that, Mr. McLaughlin?
Well, as a very exceptional individual, it's hard.
How do you think you got there? Do you think you got there through being obsessed with improvement, or from being naturally exceptional?
I think I'm naturally exceptional.
Do you?
And as such, I find very little joy in the simple things. You know, freshly baked bread. You know,
what do you find
the first rain of a winter's morn. Leave it out. I am an exceptional person, so I get joy from bigger things. Launching into space, carving my face into Mount Rushmore.
Do you think anyone's done that? Gone up there and done a tiny little face that no one can see?
I do that.
I definitely do that. There's no way if I was up there and I had a chisel.
Would you do your face?
Definitely. Who would you do?
Nixon. I just carved Richard Nixon's face in, and I just go, innocent. He was innocent.
Watergate, fuck off. What about Trump would be fun, but I guess one with Trump he's too popular now, so it actually would be a terrible decision.
It's weird that, isn't it, Ralph? I think Mount Rushmore might be the weirdest of the major worldwide tourist attractions.
And say more about that, because I don't really have an opinion on it.
Fuck.
No, I just meant what you
throw me under the bus there, Johnny. Well, I mean,
I was interested. I'm intrigued. I want to know more about why you
see, that's the angle I would have appreciated more than... Got nothing to say about that.
No, but I meant that. I've never thought about that interesting idea before.
Well, nor have I, really. I suppose if I think about it...
Nothing could sum this podcast up.
I've never thought about it.
Bold initial statements followed by, yeah, I've never thought about it either.
Guys, you've got to keep these 5-star reviews coming in on Apple Podcasts. We need to get back on the charts.
I think lasagna is a piece of shit meal and just doesn't deserve to be called pasta. Tell me more about that.
Does lasagna count as pasta? I think it's its own thing now.
No, lasagna is pasta.
I don't know if it's pasta, man.
What are you calling it then?
Well, it's lasagna. I think it's its own dish. I think it's its own thing.
Well, it's still... You can convince me of many things, Sean. You can never convince me that lasagna isn't pasta.
I think lasagna is like...
I would rather die than compromise on my lasagna is pasta belief.
KGB secret agent found dead of cyanide. He said, I will never accept that pasta does not include lasagna.
His suicide note described as ramblings about lasagna. Shocked his wife and children. Who wish they'd been talked about more prominently. No,
listen to me, mate. I think lasagna was a pasta, and I think it has now become such its own thing that it's like Frasier. You know Frasier, the sitcom?
Yeah.
Frasier was a spin-off of Cheers, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's like Cheers, but it's not." But then Frasier is so its own thing. You go, I actually don't think this counts as a spin-off anymore. I think this is like its own ecosystem, and I would say that lasagna is its own thing.
That's very interesting, Sean. What a blow it would be. I think who I'm concerned about is the pasta family and what a blow it would be to them to lose lasagna, because that's a key. Obviously, they've got a lot of good stuff: ravioli, tagliatelle. You don't need me to go through every pasta dish, but I think lasagna.
Can you go through a few more though?
Those little shell ones, spaghetti. You don't need to go through more. Do I?
Have you got just a couple more? I'd really like to hear you go through a couple more, Jonny.
They've got Bellatoni, they've got Scudamento, they've got...
I think you might be making some of these up.
What are you talking about? They've got Francesco Totti, they've got, Cannavaro, they've got Materazzi, they've got Lawrence Insigne.
Yeah.
Buffon. Yeah, all the pastas. They'd be all devastated if they lost lasagna as an ally.
Well, I think it's an ally. I don't think it's an enemy, is it?
It's like saying to me, if you said to me, if the roast dinner lost Yorkshire puddings, that'd be a death nail to the roast. So that's what you're doing to pasta. Essentially, you're taking one of its core, you're ripping out.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Destroying a family, Sean.
You know I'm not doing that, Jonny.
Family.
No, you know I'm not doing that, because let me tell you this. When was the last time you bought a roast? When was the last time you just bought a Yorkshire pudding just on its own? You just went to a place and went, I fancy just a Yorkshire pudding. Everyone knows that. And also, that's not how pasta works.
For you, Sean, I did it yesterday and the day before. For the last week, I'm exclusively at Yorkshire pudding.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you're a dirty northern shit.
I'm from Yorkshire and I love our pudding, even though they're savoury. Figure that one out. We're a contradiction.
It's just getting increasingly harder for us to ask for money for this.
I was thinking the same thing. I think there might be a sea of people withdrawing their money on the grounds it's gone to our head. I gave you £3 a month. You've become insane.
I gave you £3 a month. I gave you £3 a month for extra content from Failing Better. I'm very disappointed to see that all the money has been funneled into this bizarre vanity project where Jonny plays two characters in a Pride and Prejudice adaptation.
What? Who are you in it, Sean?
What I like about the adaptation as well, by the way, here's what I like. We need to sort of circle back to a few loose threads conversation. What I like about it is we've put 50 million of Patreon money into a project to advertise the podcast, even though the fundamental contradiction is, if we're getting to the point where we can pay for it, the podcast doesn't need advertising.
But the thing is, Sean, I'm not in it for the money, I'm in it for the legend. I'm in it for people going, what was Failing Better? And there'll be rumours about it, there'll be murmurs. People over pints will talk about it and go, did you ever hear about Failing Better?
And they'll be like, shh, you're not allowed to talk about that. The government banned it.
Yeah.
The same way they banned the age of consent.
And we should clip that.
Clip that? Do you mean cut it or clip it?
No, clip it and then put it on the socials, you saying, because it'd be really creepy.
Oh, what, the bit I just said?
Yeah, out of context, sound like a weirdo. In context, sound like probably more weird.
You know that some podcasts have like an out of context. They go, out of context, this. And it's just like someone saying a weird thing. We don't need one of those. Because literally,
in context,
the whole thing, even in context, is borderline incomprehensible.
So more to the point, Sean, who would you... I've sort of sacked off the book. I actually enjoyed...
No.
No, who are you going to be in Pride and Prejudice?
Pride and
Maybe
Prejudice.
we do this
I've
book
not read it,
week.
I don't think.
All I know is Mr. Darcy. That's the only one
I read, I read it
Is
years
Olivia...
ago.
Who's Bennett? Is that in a different...
I don't know.
Is that... I don't know either.
I've got a copy. I never finished it. I started reading it a few years ago.
Which
someone I was
who
trying
wrote
to
it
impress.
again? It was one of the sisters.
Jane Austen, wasn't it?
It might have been Jane Austen. That rings a bell.
Does it ring a bell? Does it? This is our passion project.
Well, I think we don't see in whole stories. We see in scenes. And the scene I'm seeing, Mr. Darcy coming out of the water, naked, looking hot. Is that John? Yes, it is. Looking over to the vampire.
Is that in the script? So we're going, is that John?
Yeah,
and you going, yes, it is.
Yeah.
John Darcy. Jonathan Pelham Darcy.
Well, so, yeah, it's exciting. I've enjoyed this pod. This has been my favourite episode to record. Has the quality been good? Possibly.
Look, I think it's been a great app. Listeners,
Have we done enough time, by the way? Because I've sort of sacked off. I don't know how long we've done. Paul,
let's do how long have we done, Paul?
We're on. Oh God, it's difficult to say. We're on 56 minutes altogether, but we stopped for about 5 minutes to do an email.
Just keep those 5-star reviews coming, listeners. You gotta help out this pod. You've got. Come on. We offer something no other comedy podcast does.
Oh, that's very funny.
I really want to know about the subtle art of not giving a fuck, because
All right.
I give a fuck.
Yeah.
All right. I give a fuck, and I want to not do so, but I don't want to. I want to not do so in a subtle way.
Yeah. Well, this is literally the perfect book for you, then, Sean McLaughlin.
Great. Hit me.
Well, the next thing is, it's called the Self-Awareness Onion.
God, this does not.
Pardon
the pun, but this will end in tears. Do you like that one?
I loved it. It was very clever, very quick, and really reminded me of what we can do when we focus our minds and focus on the text. The Self-Awareness Onion is a truly terrible phrase. I agree. But what he's saying is, the first layer of the onion, the Self-Awareness Onion, throw that on the barbecue. What are you having today? Or just a self-awareness burger? Is understanding...
Sorry, I've gone dark again.
I've gone dark, I didn't see. Sean's gone dark.
Alright, I'm back.
You want any idea why you keep going dark?
No idea.
It feels like every time we talk about the text, you go dark. It's like you go like, look, we've not talked about Vlad the Vampire. I do not want to talk about the Self-Awareness Onion.
Talk about the Self-Awareness Onion.
Can vampires eat onions? It's just garlic they can't eat, isn't it?
Yeah, but garlic's what in the family of onion, isn't it?
That's what I'm thinking.
It'd be weirdly specific if it was only garlic.
But I wonder, do you think...
But is garlic the lasagna of the onion?
Because I've never thought, do vampires eat normal food? Because otherwise, if they can't eat garlic, that's a key herb they're missing out on. And now we're saying maybe onions. They're diets.
Herb? Is garlic a herb?
Well, it's a sort of... I mean, it's a flavoursome...
Certainly it's a key ingredient.
It's a delight. That's what it is.
I'll often just eat a clove or two of garlic just as a snack.
I used to eat that, but then obviously due to me being a vampire, it had sort of terrible effects on me.
Yeah, of course. Now it's a once a year deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if vampires eat food. I mean, I guess they probably do. It doesn't. I mean, they need to drink blood though, don't they? That's their food.
Yeah, but then do they? So would they? It's an interesting question that I have no answers for. If you think that vampires like food, then I guess they'd like a really bloody steak, maybe.
They'd love that.
Yeah.
They would love that.
That's
they'd
how you tell a vampire.
love a bloody
if
steak.
They go in and go, "How would you like your steak?" And they go, "Like it is now. Don't cook it."
Don't cook it. Also human.
Yeah. Also, can you just cut a bit out of your side, please? I'll eat that.
You ever read any vampire literature, by the way, Johnny? Given we've talked about it so literature, yeah, vampires from literature.
I know.
Have you ever read Dracula?
I haven't. No, is it good?
It's really spooky.
Is it spooky?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever read a spooky book. How do books make you feel? Because obviously with films and stuff, it's all about the lighting and the music and blah blah blah. And is it going to pop out? How do they do that in books?
I always make sure that I have scary music playing.
I really like that.
So I play just the Jaws theme over and over again. I'll read Frankenstein. Will you do the Jaws theme again there, Johnny? Sorry, we do the Jaws theme.
No. Is that Jaws?
I'm pretty sure that's the Blind Date theme tune.
It's like... Is it not?
No, it's the opposite of that.
What is it then? You do.
Whereas you're going... You are doing the Blind Date theme tune.
Well, I always had a terrible fear of blind dates, so it makes sense to me.
Well, yet another great pod to add to our collection.
I'll go to number 5, which I think feels very key to us. He talks about the importance of failure, rejection, and death.
Fuck me. God. Where do you start? Where do you start?
Any improvement is underpinned by thousands of tiny failures.
Do you think so?
Well, that's what he says. I've not got any skin in this game.
Well, what was the last thing that you... Actually, I don't want to ask that question because I know the answer. What's the last thing you failed at? And I know what the answer is. It's ongoing, unfortunately. I mean, I guess that's the truth, though, isn't it?
I think so. But what he's saying is, it's these failures, this growth, that ultimately brings us happiness and not arbitrary achievements. Do you think that's true? Do you think that this podcast brings you happiness? Do you think you'll be happier when we get the Pride and Prejudice off the ground and it's in the cinemas? Do you think that will feel happier than the process of getting there, which is obviously us building our fan base through fantastic podcasting?
It is that classic thing, isn't it? You know, is it the journey or the destination? You know, is the struggle what makes life? I have no idea. I mean, if this podcast got very, very successful,
which it will, I can't imagine.
I don't know if I'd look back on this episode and think, "Oh, I missed that."
Do you not think? I think when we're bigger than Joe Rogan, we will have to tell, because obviously we'll get cancelled for stuff like this. You can't go around talking about, the KGB. We're going to have to really censor ourselves. So this is when you see the podcast truly at its most free and most real, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's true. Yeah, I guess
when we're millionaires, we've got a mansion, we're living on a yacht. Will we just miss the days we could just...
Why would we have a mansion if we're living on a yacht?
Because we're billionaires.
Oh,
do you think billionaires only have one yacht? Well, I better get my massive yacht. No, they're like, I'm off to my mansion in, Zimbabwe.
So genuinely the first place you could think of was Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm off to Zimbabwe on my yacht.
Where would you go if you had £1 billion? Where would your first house be?
Where would my first house be?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably Zimbabwe, actually, come to think about it.
Just me and you with massive... It would feel morally abhorrent, given their levels of sort of economic struggle, to just have, on a hill, on two hills, two massive failing better.
What have they done? What have they done to earn such a big house here in Zimbabwe? What have they done? I'd do a podcast.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's really weird.
It's probably not for you. That should be our catchphrase. Failing better. It's probably not for you.
God almighty.
But it's both the home of witty banter and probably not for you.
Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot this episode. Have you?
Me too. I've really enjoyed it.
Hey, listeners, genuinely, if this is your first time listening, if they aren't all this weird, this has been
particularly odd.
This has been really... A lot of them are actually quite structured and like a normal podcast. But sometimes we just... I guess we're just jamming. This is like our Kid A.
Yeah.
Like when Radiohead released Kid A. And people go, what is this? But maybe we're helping direct podcasts into a new direction.
I think so. A lot of podcast hosts feel that podcast is a science. We believe podcast is like jazz. It's free form, baby. It's just all over the place.
Yeah, it's all about the jokes that we don't tell.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of them. But you can find them in other podcasts. Boring. Other podcasts are boring.
Boring. What's your least favourite podcast? I'll have to cut this out.
What's my least favourite podcast? Bloody good question, that. I don't really listen to enough to have a least favourite. I don't have enough time in my day to listen to stuff that I don't like.
And let's hope you listeners do.
Yeah, here's hoping that I'm busier than the average person, otherwise we're pretty fucked. Look, guys, the key thing is subscribe, give us a 5-star review. I mean, this is 5-star content.
It's 5 stars. It's ahead of its time, this.
Yeah.
In 2044, people will be doing this sort of shit.
In 2044, people will be doing this sort of shit.
We're laying the groundwork.
Yeah. And if you do want more of it, for money, Patreon, you get loads of extra content, loads of other treats, and we're planning to do other cool stuff as well. Genuinely, thank you for listening. We're going to be back next Tuesday. Sorry, I almost burped there. Just what the podcast needed. And just genuinely thank you for listening. And now we're going to stop. And the next section is going to be Patreon only. And usually that's where we really go wild.
Yeah.
So fuck fuck knows what's going to... I don't know what's going to happen. We just eat our shoes or something. But we'll figure it out. Thank you for listening. Anything else you want to add, Jonny?
Just that, I think you summed up everything really well.
Thanks, man.
So well done.
It's good to have you back in this crazy thing called life. I suppose all I can say is I've been Sean McLaughlin.
I've been Jonny Pelham.
And we truly have been...
Failing
better.
A podcast from producerpaul.co.uk.
Now I just need to send this email, you twats.